Good evening, folks. My name is Real Blank Space, and tonight I'm going to be joined by another tech community member. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. Again, my name is Real Blank Space, and this is
I play Lingkius.
Lingkius. Welcome. Oh wow, my mic just went nuts. Hopefully that's not too loud for you folks. Welcome to the stream.
What's up, man?
Just another beautiful day here in New England. I'm pretty sure 2 weekends ago it was like 90 degrees, and today it was like 30. So got the sweatshirt on, got a little coffee, gonna make it through the night. How about yourself?
Yeah, we've had a lot of rain, a lot of rain. We had some flooding here yesterday, but today was a nice day.
Very cool. For those of you who are watching, you may end up actually watching this on YouTube. Lingkius here has told me that he may have to step away for family stuff. If he does, I will continue to show you this beautiful beard and bullshit with you while he's muted and taking care of family stuff. But other than that, let's dig into some things. So you play tech. Have you played any other MUDs in your time of being a online gamer?
Human being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I played on AOL. I played two different games.
Wow.
And before I played tech, yeah, and this is when they were free. So essentially, all of the text-based games that I played went from free to play to pay to play, and so I stopped playing them because I didn't have any money and I was a kid. I played Gemstone 3 for a pretty good while. Then I played a game called Terrace, which I don't even think I like. I've since Google became Google, I've never been able to find anything about Terrace. Like I don't like. I'm hoping that wasn't just some kind of simulation in my mind that I was actually playing it. Because
I remember this game, but it doesn't exist. But I mean, come on. Neither does GeoCities, so I mean, things do disappear.
yeah, but you could still go to Anatar's weapons and armor page. So I mean,
It's true.
I don't know, but I played those, and then I graduated high school, and I decided I was gonna jump. I don't even know how I found it. I really can't even remember. It's been so long ago, and I found it, and I was immediately hooked. It was that same feeling of learning and exploring that I felt with the other two games. So
Gotcha. So, been playing for a real long time. You you have your main. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that character?
um, I've played for a long time, and I've had him for a long time. Um, I've had him. He was rolled in 2004, but I wasn't playing him. I was playing a different character, and then that character, along with the one before him, died in the spider caverns because I was too poor to afford luck points.
That's a truth for a lot of us back in the day. Yep.
And so, I anyway, I was playing Star Wars Galaxies, and Star Wars Galaxies kind of started to hit its death knell, and I was like, I'm going to give TEC I'm going to give that another try. And so I jumped in there, and I was like, well, let's look at this guy. And so I looked at him, and I started to do the research, and I was like, why did you roll him fair skinned? He's supposed to look like, he's a Parsine. So I had to come up with this really elaborate story why he looks the way he does, because he's so not what a Parsine's supposed to look like.
Okay. So just
But
the
the thing,
complexion, or
everything. They're supposed to be like medium barrel shaped people, and he's tall and muscular because that's what the cool thing to roll was at the time.
right?
And so I had to come up with uh all this history of why he is what he is. But the thing about it was, I had never done that. Like I had never done that. And so I was like, I started to get this depth and this backstory. And what's really nice about the backstory is it really helps you is like, should I go this direction with this guy? Well, you kind of have these certain consistencies that you can fall back upon. And so it's really nice to know, like, yeah, this is true. This is true to him, and I was telling some of the Legio people about it, and some of it is it's pretty heavy, but it's really cool to. I had to come up with this crazy backstory, but I mean, if you think about it, all of our characters are the heroes, right? I mean, anybody who has above average strength, above average speed, and then you're looking at some of our characters who are, two times that. You're talking these are standouts in and of themselves anyway. So, they're all going to have interesting histories as to why they are the way that they are. But as I started to weave that tale behind him, it really allowed me to kind of understand why he was going to go the direction that I took him. And I've been really happy with it for the most part, especially his story. Any bout that I ever have with the game is usually with the game itself. It's not
Right.
ever with that character. It's more about the game, or even sometimes how me, the player, handles it.
Understandable. Excuse me. One of the things you had mentioned you wanted to talk a little bit about that we kind of dipped our toes in is role playing styles. And you also had mentioned about how it had changed over time. I find that that's two different questions. And what I want to ask you is, how do you role play your character now? And then we'll get into how it's changed over time. So, like right now, how would you describe your sort of role play style?
Um, the biggest thing for me is immersion.
Okay.
And I think the biggest impact you can have upon immersion are subtleties. And this is kind of what we were talking about a minute ago. I can appreciate a really thought out, really well executed emote like the next guy. But when I see those consistencies, and especially the consistency of the subtleties, I really appreciate that. And that really draws me in. And that's my style. I have a more of a subtle RP style where if you interact with any of my characters, they're not really over the top as far as, you know, raise your eyebrows, but if you interact with them, they're going to be the same every time, because I generally, when I play one of them, I generally have an idea of the direction I want them to go. And as a player, I appreciate those subtleties when I see them reciprocated back to me.
Yeah, well, it's actually on my forums. Somebody had said to me once, they liked my role play because I was consistent. And I have a question for you because you've mentioned that you play more than one character. What are some of the tips that you would give to somebody who is, maybe just starting, or they just came around and they were like, hey, I have this character and I'm super involved and it's my main, but I keep playing my alt. How do I keep those separate? And for me, it's little things like a notepad. Like, this player, this character knows these things and is this sort of friends with these people. And then I keep another notepad, and before I play, I'll look at them and be like, oh yeah, okay. So it helps me kind of get ready for it before I jump in. Do you have
Yeah, it's like
anything like that?
it's like um
Or any tips if
not
you're gonna be like, if someone brand new was like, all right, I'm checking out these tech talks, what would you say to them if they were like, I want to play two different characters? Do you have any tips for them? Any tricks?
I, I think the way you're doing it, if you're, I play 95% of my time, and I don't have a lot of time to devote as some people. So I play 95% of that time on Link.
Yeah.
But what I would tell somebody is, if you're going to go like a 50-50 or a 60-40, for sure, even if it's just something like, a Google Doc, or, something where you can just reference it really quick. It's easy for me because my other guys just kind of run around and do their own things. They're not really involved in any plots yet, as it were. As far as, I kind of want to answer that question with another answer as well, kind of
Sure.
a yes, but I think one of the things that drives roleplay are flaws. And if you look at my guy, if you look at some of the stuff that he carries around, even if you look at him, he's got these flaws that he carries around with him. And my other characters have these other, not similar, but these other flaws. And I think these flaws that each character has, like one of them is toothless, right? One of my alts is toothless. He's missing teeth. He's hideous.
I love it.
He's got a scar on the back of his head because when he was on the boat, they beat him up, somebody really bad, and he suffers from amnesia and he can't remember where he's from. He doesn't even know, and he's illiterate, which is a choice that I made in the charge-in. But I just think these flaws, everybody wants to be the strongest or the fast or the most dexterous, and that's great. But I think if we have these flaws that we can fall back on, it allows us to round these heroic characters out and gives them more of a believable persona, which to me is as I would say from earlier, is more immersive and draws me in. And anything that draws me in is what I appreciate.
Now, do you, let's say as you're creating a character, do you kind of come up with flaws beforehand? Or is it something that you let happen as you play a character? Because
yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay.
I guess I can say yes and no. Like with the one that I just referenced, I kind of had an idea for him, and now I have this new guy. I got one of those free VCs from like, I don't even know when they gave those out. 2013. I can't even tell you.
Okay.
And he sat there, and I didn't even know he was there. Like I could have used it. I could have rolled that guy. And so I kind of rolled him, and I kind of knew like an overall arc, but I didn't have any of these subtleties to him. But then as I played him, I kind of let it come to me in the moment, if that makes sense. Like as I'm interacting with somebody, for instance, this character is colorblind. Well, I realize, hey, he's going to be colorblind when I'm talking to the tailor when she asks him what color she wants his, I don't even know how you're supposed to say it, panula to be.
It's
and I was like,
one of my favorite things, by the way, the more people that come on here and we all try to figure out how we say the words. Yes. How exactly do you say these words? Because everybody says it a different way, and who knows who's right, but it's beautiful.
If you just want bonus content at the end of this thing, just type the words you want me to say and I'll say them.
Perfect. All right.
But anyway, it was kind of one of those things I was like, it would be really cool if this guy was colorblind. And so in that moment where I'm dealing with this other character who wants to help my character out by providing a service, I have to convey in a role-playing moment that he can't see colors. And that to me is a challenge, and so the challenge is what makes it fun.
Right.
Only challenge I have as a player is remembering, because the next time I dealt with that character, I forgot that he was colorblind.
They're like,
so I had to shoot her a bracket whisper. I was like, oh crap, I forgot he's colorblind. Just scratch that I just said that.
We're going to retcon that. I didn't say that. What I said was, what pink color? What? Blue?
The thing is, and that's one of the things that I was trying to figure out is like, how do you tell somebody in an ancient Roman context everything looks gray and white and black? Like, how does somebody who's colorblind explain that? I don't know. That's part of the fun of that character when he's dealing with people. So the other thing that's going to be fun is he's a gladiator, so I wouldn't be surprised if one of his tailors plays a prank on him and slips him some outrageous color and he has no idea that he's running around on the sands with this purple waist guard or something. I have no idea.
What I find interesting about that is, I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to approach it, but there is what you're saying, kind of that simple style. It's something that I've done with Evan, my newest character that I've shown, where I won't make it super obvious, but the clues are there. and then eventually people pick it up and I'll get like a whisper, or they'll be like, dude, does your character not understand what fucking blue? And you're just like, yes, that's exactly what I was going for. So there's straight up just saying it. Sometimes you're trying to kind of blunt force it in where you have your character, just be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm colorblind. I don't really see colors. But that is not as much fun as having that role play interaction with somebody where the character's like, blue, red, no, that's gray, and that's a little bit off gray, and
all these colors look the same to me.
Right.
These all look the same to me.
And seeing if that person picks it up, if they're like,
what?
Oh, holy crap! I get what that person's trying to do.
Because mechanically speaking, that doesn't exist, right? There's not that would be cool if that was a negative trait you could have, maybe like a -2 or a -1. Colorblind, this probably a -1. This character can't differentiate between colors. That would be really cool.
Right.
But it's a pure, and the only thing you have to be careful with something like that is you, the player, once you choose that, you have to be consistent. You don't want to just be like, oh, well, now I can see colors again. Like I got hit in the head and a reel spoke to me and now I can see colors. It's like, no, like be true to that. Be true to that character. Be true to that choice. Don't just do it when it's easy.
Yeah.
So that's the challenge that we have as players.
So you've kind of explained how you are now with more of like a passive RP, and you try to let people pick up these subtle hints. We've also, when we talked before, well, it's like a real professional show. We have like a pre-show and everything. It's just amazing. You talk beforehand about how that's kind of changed over time. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I know for me, I mean, I've been playing, sounds like as long as you, in this game. Things have definitely changed. How has that role play perspective changed over time to get you to where you are now?
I think kind of the direction I want to take that question is not so much, I mean, before 2006, this was just a game I ran around in the alleys with a bunch of dudes, and we dragged leathers to Vaninas and we sold them, and we, we ran them up the ladder into Monlin and got Amber, whatever. Like I didn't even like, until I came back in 2006, I didn't even understand what role-playing was, and it wasn't until I came back. So that's kind of half of the answer to that. Kind of what I wanted to go in the direction of that question is, I am not as afraid to play closer to the curtain, if that makes sense.
It doesn't,
because I think,
but tell me, what does that mean?
I think the curtain being the ICOOC curtain, as far as there's 40 people online, right? And there's this dude on the boat, and I don't have a huge reason to talk to him, but I think if we can connect as characters and then as players, I think that makes the game more fun for everybody. And so unless I just have a huge IC reason of not talking to your character, I'm at least going to make an effort. Whereas before, and there are in-character reasons why my guy was that way, but before it was like, he was very, standoffish, and he was very quiet, and he wouldn't, he would just disregard people. And if that's the way you want to go, I'm not judging that. But I just think if you're riding the boat back from Franlius and it's freaking a 20-minute ride, I mean, if you can get some type of RP out of it, and there's another, and it's not empty, right? If you can get some type of RP out of it, let's do it. Let's make the game fun, And I even had a negative-ish in-character encounter a few weeks ago, but I kudos the player because it was so good.
Yep.
On the wagon back from Rock Valley, I was like, yeah, heck yeah, I'm with that. I'm down with that. And so I appreciate that. And so, when I say playing close to the curtain, I mean, I'm not going to, unless I just have a really big in-character reason of acting that way, I'm going to play like I know at a certain point, this is just a game, and so I'm going to attempt some type of RP, whatever it is. So that's kind of what I meant by that.
I want to liken that to when you play D&D, right? There are times when you're going into combat, and with the rules of 5e, you only have so much time that you can talk and do things. So normally when you're in combat, which again in the Eternal City, when you're beating on some gladiators or somewhere fighting things, you're probably not going to try to fit in a bunch of RP, but it's the back and forth that you have these windows of opportunity where you're resting at the baths, or in D&D you're at a campsite, or you're walking somewhere, you're setting up a perimeter, you're thinking about what you're going to do, or maybe something went a certain way you didn't like, so that conflict pushes your characters away but they still have each other's back. Those are when you, and I feel that if we could get more people to just try them, we start breaking down again, as you said, well, not only the clicks, but there are times, right, where let's just say you're just like, dude, I don't have time. I got to go to the bank. I got to get some dollar bills. I got to go buy some mutton because my character's about to fall over dead, dying, like he's starving. And you're just like, this is not the time for me to role play about how that chick winked at me, like I got to go. So I understand that not, to say that there aren't times when your character is doing something, those happen. But if we can encourage more of those, hey, I'm getting a drink at the fountain, you're getting a drink at the fountain, what's up? Because, dude, like, this city is ginormous. And unless, the character that you're playing has, like, specific reasons, right? Like, he's going to be a bandit, or he's a spy, or you have some cool conflict you're a part of that you can't, fine, I get it. But in general, we should try to interact more because it adds to the game. And so I totally agree with you. I have had some people that I have learned quite a lot from on Evan, and then there are some people that are like, and I'm off the train again. But at least I tried. I put that out there, and I've actually seen, and it's funny, when one of those people who are like always about super hardcore training, or they just don't normally talk, they actually stop and engage. It's like it's like winning the role-playing lottery. You're like, dude, yes! I got this dude to chill with me for like 5 minutes and tell me about his day, and it was like super small, but woo! So I totally get that.
He took a puff off my pipe and everything.
Dude, it was great! Woo! But again, like I said, those won't always happen, but if we can encourage more of them, I totally agree. It would be good for the community and the game, so...
Yeah, and one of my complaints sometimes about the game, and I've submitted a feedback, is sometimes the waiting in the game, which are caused by in-character things, cause the game not to be as fun. But I feel like, kind of like you, as long as there's somebody there I can roleplay with, I'm excited. I'm happy. I give me that interaction. Give me that ability to try to figure out somebody else's story as a player. Give my character something to do while he's waiting on that boat. I keep going back to that just because there's only one that goes back and forth. And if you miss it right after it leaves and you're trying to get out there, good luck. I can really appreciate that.
So my next question for you is about, it's my last one here before we're free balling it into the wind. The last one here is power emoting. You had mentioned power emotes, and people have heard my definition. My definition is this, right? When a character, I get accused of power emoting all the time, but I disagree with the definition, so I'm looking forward to hearing yours. Mine is this: if I say Evan strikes a pose and suddenly you're rock hard because he's sexy, that's power emoting. I'm telling you how you feel. Now, absolutely. If I emote Evan stands here heroically and your character like grimaces or whatever, you took what I did and then your character was like, what are you doing, dummy? So I left it kind of open for interpretation, but there are some people who say, no, man, you can't be emoting like that. That's too much. So I'd love to hear, what do you think? What is power emoting? Do you do it? What would or won't you emote? Any of those?
Um, you'd probably have to ask the people that interact with my character if they think
Oh no,
my
come
power.
on! I want to hear it from you. What is power emoting for you? Was my definition good enough, or
No, I think your definition was perfect.
okay?
I think anything that tries to impart actions onto a third party, actions or feelings onto a third party is power emoting.
So where do
I
you
think
put that line? What if some? And I think I've talked about this before. Say you're trying to convey that Link looks sad, but you don't, like, you're sitting there and you're like, shit, this is a perfect time. But how do I do that? Is his brow go down? There's there a wrinkle in his mouth? And so, in an attempt to try and get something out there, do you just type Link has a sad look on his face? Is that acceptable for you?
um I feel like that's acceptable, but I feel like you could do better, right?
Oh, absolutely,
Like,
absolutely,
like
dude.
I think in the real world context, we have enough nonverbal cues where we can read somebody as like, oh, that he's depressed or he's
Yep.
sad or he's not feeling it. But I think in this context, you're not gonna emote his eyebrows droop and his mouth turns upside down, his nose points down at the ground. Like who's kind of got time to read all of that or even hammer all of that out, especially if you're in a room full of people.
Dude, I try. I totally am the guy who sits there, and I haven't actually done like one with me running around, but I'm the guy that's like, shit. Like, I'm like, okay, I've got one part of it. How do I get the rest of it? Get it out there as quick as I can. And then people like sitting there waiting, and then eventually this big long emote, like, Evan is downcast forward with his look. I'm like, that's perfect. It took me 30 seconds. Yes!
And there's a typo 3/4 of the way through it, and you're like, dang it!
Oh, it was so beautiful.
And the moment's already passed. That person left, and you're like, oh crap, they left.
Or my favorite is when people, I think I did one, and dude was like, I didn't even notice that you misspelled that shit until you said something. I was like, damn it, why did I say anything? It's beautiful. Until I ruined it with my own correction.
I think as far as emoting goes, does it enhance the story? Does it enhance the moment, or are you drawing attention to yourself? Right?
Right.
And that's kind of, everybody is different, and I'm not going to judge yours, blank space, and I'm not going to judge anybody else's. I used to, and I figured out this game is a lot more fun if I don't.
Right.
If I just do my thing and let people do their thing, what gets them joy and fun and leisure. So it's one of those things. The only thing that kind of drives me bonkers if it's like, boom, emote, 5 lines, boom, same person emote, 5 lines, boom, same person emote, 5 lines. That's when I get a little bit twitchy, because I'm actually being drawn out of the story, and it kind of, I start to realize I'm sitting there at a keyboard instead of following along in the moment. So,
But I mean, isn't that just good storytelling though? Like, if you're reading some character's dialogue, they're normally not bigger than a paragraph, like in an actual book. So if you're sitting at an event and somebody who doesn't happen to be the staff character relaying information just is going on and on and on, you're like, all right, bro, this ain't Shakespeare. How about we push this along? So
absolutely,
I can see that.
Yeah, and especially in that context, and those are the ones, and I'm sure everybody's kind of like that, especially at events. Although the event we had, of course, I got there halfway through, and the crap had already hit the fan, so there wasn't really time for emoting. It's just like, oh my god, stab whatever you can and save the people who are dying. So there wasn't a lot of time for emoting, and that was just a scroll fest. But I don't even mind, like I said, emoting that I feel like are pushing the story. But if you're repeating the same thing over and over, it's like, sobs, cries, sniffles, sobs louder. It's like, okay, we get it. You don't have to continue to emphasize that. That
Gotcha.
those are the types of things that kind of draw me out of that moment. But that could just be me. It may not be. I may be in the minority there because that does happen, and it's not. You know, it's allowed. It's just a preference thing.
Okay. I personally, I used to have a whole bunch of like, I feel this way, I feel that way, but I've found throughout time that, listen, if somebody wants to creatively write up 5 different ways that they're waving at me, whatever. If somebody, as long as they're not trying to tell my character how they feel, I I used to get frustrated with that crap, and now, I don't, man. Hey, listen, if that's your jam, cool, man. People used to get mad at me for how I emoted Sump.
Yeah,
I used to be super defensive, and I'm like, whatever, man. If you don't like it, it's too bad. It's what it is. So,
and I find as I continue to play the game as I get older, I kind of lean more towards that way, and I wouldn't be surprised, if I'm still playing in 2 years, which hopefully I am. But if I'm still playing in 2 years, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm more kind of in your court, like whatever. I know I still have let certain things draw me out. But like if you think about 2001, you
whew.
know, people would if you didn't capitalize all your words, you were a bad RP, or if you didn't spell all your words, like there was this grammar police type role play community, and if you weren't within that community, you were essentially excluded, and that's not really, that doesn't exist anymore. Partly because the client helps you, but that just doesn't exist, and
Yes.
so
Spell check is your friend, folks.
yeah, and people went from using Java with no spell check to like any of the other clients where it's like, oh hey, well let me right click that word, maybe I misspelled
There's a red line under this. I meant to write
you know
concentration. It's not even close. Oh, there it is,
I
right
wrote
there.
convocation. Oh, there it is. Yeah.
Uh,
So
you did mention something about we played for a long time. How about one of your favorite events? I can think of a couple that I've really enjoyed throughout the years. Do you got any that really stick out for you?
I want to answer your question with two answers. One that's not really an answer
I
to the question,
love
but
I love the not answers that are answers. They're actually the best. So let's hear it. What you got?
so the favorite event I had was a Legio event where we had to sneak into Stromheim and rescue a VIP. I can't even remember his name anymore. I want to say it was Terlindax, but it may not even have been Terlindax. It may have been some other. And we had this guide, and I think it was Critios, that GM,
Yeah.
uh, and he helped us, and we had to like dig a hole, and then we had to climb up a rope, and it was a lot of fun because it wasn't like the get swarmed, survive, behead everything, move on. Like it took I had the Centaurians K Day, and I was talking to him, letting him know what I was seeing, and he was relaying back what he was seeing. And so there was just this thinking outside the box type of gameplay that was a lot of fun. As far as the event, that one still is my favorite.
Okay.
And we had to get the VIP back to the fort there in Rock Valley, and we were able to do it. And then I think that was when they closed Stromheim. So sorry about that. Um, it was closed for 3 years or something.
Oh.
So yeah, they were mad at us because we stole their dude. So and then the favorite moment that I have in the game was when I was running around with another character, and it was the same storyline, same story arc. So we're in Rock Valley, and we're just doing some patrols, and we come upon this who we could essentially tell was a GM NPC. So we capture him, and he's got a missive on him, and so we read it, and it's like it says, that we're meeting at Stromheim or whatever, and so we head that way, and there's a couple a couple barbarians up there, and we take them out, and we're kind of going through their stuff, seeing if there's any other clues. And then all of a sudden, we see the emote that from the GM that we're essentially. I mean, it's like a huge horde of barbarians runs into the area, and he looks right at me. And this is his commanding officer. He looks right at him and he says, "Run!" exclamation point. We just like get out of there. That was just one of the greatest moments of holy crap, we gotta go. And so we just like and it was just one of those so engaging moments that the game has that brings us back again and again and again. And that's just one of my favorite stories. That was just essentially three people. We're just kind of doing our daily routine, doing the patrols, whatever, and then you come across this random NPC who happens to be a GM NPC, and it just leads to that great moment. And it's just it's a great memory.
I find that along those lines, there's kind of okay. Let me back that up. For some of the characters and people that have been playing for a very long time, there becomes this: things can't kick my butt. I'm super strong. I've got close to max stats, or I've got thousands of ranks, so nothing scares me. And what I've found is there are times where when you get scared, that's the most fun. Just recently, they had an event up in Blackfine, and there was a moment during this event where it actually felt dangerous, like as if, hey, listen, we've got several people in a cave. Like they couldn't do anything if they needed to. People got broken arms and stuff. Somebody went knocked out. It wasn't the sort of event where you're just like, we can kind of stand forever. We're going to be fine. And I think those sort of events where it's kind of, again, I like to liken roleplay with D&D. Not every encounter is made to be beaten. Sometimes you've got to back up, try a different thing, go a different way. Sometimes you lose here to try something else over there. So,
yeah, that was definitely one of those stories. Yeah, I came back before I told you. So
okay, that
was one of those drivers of story that we really were able to use to because then we took that information back, like, hey, there's a lot of barbarians swarming around the gate. You have to, it gives your character something to do, right? And so, that's just one of those subtle ways to push that story. So we were really appreciative to get that, and I was appreciative to see that human side of like GTFO. It's time to go.
I have not a you stand here, but you need to go. You should probably run. You should keep running, and then this will turn into more story somewhere else. I think that's super cool.
Right.
With, let's see, those and RP styles. If you were a staff member for a day, and they said you could pick one thing to code or to add to the game, anything you wanted, right? Whether it was specifically for your character or for the game in general, what do you think you would pick and why? Great question. I know. Came up with that by myself. That's why I host these sort of shows.
Yeah. I think, well, let me just kind of tell you what I feel. I feel like this game, if we had 300 people, is a great size.
Yep.
I feel like with 60 to 70 people, sometimes it's too big.
Okay.
But that being said, this game, if it had 300 people, doesn't have near enough hunting grounds, right? Like, you can go some places sometimes and you're like, well, I mean, I guess I'll just stand in this square or attempt to RP with somebody. But sometimes you just gotta, you gotta get your hunt on, and So make the world smaller to fit the current size player base, as well as add a few more hunting grounds, is kind of what I feel like.
All right.
More diversity.
All night I've been letting you pick two answers here. You don't get to. You don't get to shrink the world and grow it here. Cutting you off. So you can't have them both. So you would add another hunting ground?
I would add more hunting grounds. I would add diverse hunting grounds.
Okay.
Sometimes they're a little bit too similar to each other.
Where would you do that, the spectrum? Would you do another one for new players, for one in the middle? Would you do another wide kind of scope one like friendliest? What would you do at end game?
There's end game content that we don't really use. I know of a couple players that use it, but there's not really a lot of people to do it, and it's kind of designed to be hard to get to.
Yep.
I don't know if I would do another one of those. I think I would do probably two low B hunting grounds and 2 or 3 mid Bs, because I think that's where the struggle is. It's like, okay, now I'm out of the ludus. Now what do I do? I don't have my rolling rise up. I'm working on it, but it's not where it needs to be yet, and so I can't really go. I can go on caravans, but there's a fair chance I might get knocked out. Especially if there's 8 of them that spawn, and like, oh crap, that sucks.
Yeah.
So, I just think more and diverse. I think the dumps in Rock Valley is pretty cool because there's so many things that spawn there. But it's a little spammy. So, but I do like the diversity of the mobs there. And if you could get something else like that, maybe closer to the city, that would be fun.
Heard it here first. Another mid near the city. The reason I asked, since I've come back, I left when Friendliest was launching, I think, or was still being finished up. And so I missed a good chunk of time. And since I've been back, things have changed a lot, and I'm still trying to get used to kind of where that flow is. It used to be, you had the dummies, you had the island, you had the sewers, then you kind of went to the alleys, then bandits, then eventually Modlon,
Don't forget Leadus.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever I was training Link Up, we would go to Leadus and we would just practice spar.
Listen, that's wicked old school. That's almost back to the days of jab dummy, chop dummy. So back when you would actually spar people, because it was the best way to get skill points. I find that the Ludus is phenomenal for new players. Yep.
That is one of the greatest executed things the GMs have done in a long time, because it allows you to essentially work in a protected environment, but the in character, it's a school, right? And so that makes sense. And there's bunks and there's a cafeteria, and there's all these things that, but it kind of insulates those newer characters when they're really, really vulnerable, and it eliminates a little bit of that. And if you want to, roll a guy out on a caravan, you can. But if you want to just work the Ludus until you're done, you can do that too. And I really appreciate that, because like I said, I don't always have a lot of time to play this thing. And so when I'm playing it, I want to be attempting to maximize that time. And the Ludus really, really helps with that. So
yep. I love that place. I think that it was so well done that it becomes a part of every new character. Like you send them out so that they learn about skill points, out on the island. But once they're no longer that fresh of a newbie, you get to bring them somewhere where they see, like, these are your different stances. This is what it's like for something to actually fight you that's just not biting at your ankles. So,
right. And you're fighting humanoids that are, relatively well coded. As much as I'm saying the Ludus is a great thing, I have one character who cannot enter it and 4 others who are still in the lowest level. So I don't know if I'm a great point of reference on that. But remembering what it's like to run around on the island while I'm trying to get moves for rotation and not having to do that is really awesome.
Yeah. I would agree. Um, let's see. We talked about RP styles. We talked about some other things and events. Before we wrap this up for YouTube and then potentially just hang out, was there anything else that you wanted to mention, say about the game, say about your character, say about roleplay, anything, any topic we might have missed?
I talked to his player. I think it was this week or last week. Sent us his player, but his interview really is what made me want to do this because I really appreciated his honesty and I appreciated a lot of the things that he said and the way that he said them, and a lot of the things that he deals with as a player, as far as like, falling down the rabbit hole, stuff like that. I really appreciated how honest he was about that. And I hope that if somebody's listening to this and they feel that compelled to do that again, I hope that maybe they'll sit down with you and talk to you about it as well, or whatever you want, because I was just kind of taken aback. It's like, man, he goes through a lot of the same stuff I do. And that was why I wanted to sit down with you, because maybe there's somebody out there that kind of feels like, well, my RP style is not appreciated. It's like, no, it is. And so, I just wanted to, kind of like we talked about earlier, I just want to empower people that if they feel like they're doing good and they're being consistent, that's noticed.
Right.
People see that, and I try to kudos people every day. I don't always do it every day. But the people that I kudos the most are the ones that are consistent. And I try not to kudos the same people every day. I try to kudos the people that leave an impression upon me. And so, those ones that are the consistent ones are the ones that generally I pick out.
I also like to, speaking of the kudos system, I like to, well, if you're watching and you don't know what it is, in the game, you're able to once a day give a kudos. You get some sort of role points from it, but the idea behind it,
5 or 10, I think.
Yeah, the idea behind it is you get to type in the character and then like a reason. So often, I'll be kudos somebody for, making me laugh as a player, even if the character didn't. Watching them, as Link said, be consistent. I've seen your character 3 times this week, and every time they've been morose, or they've been super cheery, or even the other flip side of that, normally they're very cheery and happy, and they had a reason, and I got to share that, or even if it was like 5 minutes at the bank, hey, what's going on with you? Oh, I'm having a rough day, this happened, that happened. Oh, I'm really sorry to hear about that. Like, it added to the game. It added to my character. It grew a relationship. Sometimes I've actually kudos to some of the people in the Legion just for being a supportive character to mine, and I enjoyed that interaction. So I like the kudos system because it's a nice way to kind of say, great job, keep it up, and it's not from the staff. Like, it's nice when the staff just happens to be nearby and they see something, they're like, hey, here's some role points for doing a great job. To me, I think the intention of the system is so awesome, because then I can say, thank you for playing your character and doing a great job. I appreciate this interaction or this thing that you said, or the way that this impacted my character. So
I also like that because somebody abuses it, right?
sure.
I like that they don't treat us like children and take the entire thing away because of one person. Like, I feel like this game, and I'm not always on board with everything the staff does or the way they do it, but I feel like there's at least a maturity about them, and for the most part, they treat us as mature players, and I can, because they probably, if they were going to do zero sum, they probably would have taken it away a while back. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
So, but it's so valuable to us as players to be able to say, you're doing a good job. I appreciate that it still exists.
I absolutely have to agree with you. And I find that if there are outliers who use it inappropriately, that they have it removed. It's been discussed, and I'm not gonna dig into that too much, mostly because this is going on YouTube. But there are people who may not use it correctly and they get it taken away. And I'm cool with that because for most of us, we're using that as a way to encourage each other to keep going. And instead of it being some sort of popularity contest or something like that, if it is a genuine, hey, dude, bro, chica, whatever, appreciated it, I really like this, that's organic awesomeness. So,
it's good to be appreciated by the people you're playing with. You know, it's good to be appreciated by the people that you roll with. So, yeah.
We talked about kudos. I made you actually pick something about changing the game world. You do another medium ground. I like that.
Yeah, and I picked something. I did. I
Finally.
didn't give you 2 answers.
And so, as we wrap up this, just for the YouTube portion, what I want to say is I'm going to continue to stream after this, but this is where we'll cut it for YouTube. If you are interested in coming onto the show, I can do both voice or the questions can be asked and you can type your answers. I want anybody to feel comfortable. I know some people aren't comfortable with their voice. I still hate mine. I used to imagine myself having this cool, like, video announcer voice. And that's absolutely not what my voice, I listen to my YouTube. I'm like, ugh, how do people listen to me? Ugh. So if that's you and you're like, I don't want my voice out there, that's totally fine. We can do it in text. I would love to have more people from the community. I've reached out to the staff. They're being discussed. Hopefully we get 1 or 2 or maybe 3 of them to come and talk about their perspective, you know, what it was like, where they are now, what they enjoy working on. Again, super hopeful. We'll see if it happens. I'd like to have, some people that play bandit characters. I'd like to have some people who play conflict characters. I'd like to have somebody who just doesn't like to role play that much, but loves to just grind SPs. I would like to get more perspectives because that's what makes a community. Now, if we were all like-minded, we all played the same way, it'd be boring. When I play D&D, I've got buddies who are all about combat, and they sit here with the manual and they figure out the best way to whatever. And me, I'm more of the, this crap works. Let's try this, But doesn't it makes for a fun time. So again, if you're interested on the Discord, send me a message. We'll find a time that's convenient for you. We'll sit down. Everything's unscripted. I think it's more fun that way. And I would highly encourage anybody who's at least mildly interested to let me know, because I would love to do many, many, many more of these if possible. But
yeah, he makes it really easy on you too. It's not a huge. In fact, I kind of had to change it on him a couple times, and he just rolls with it. So don't feel like it's something you have to just really hunker down and commit to. He's really good. So
dude, trying to chase this guy, man. I'm like, hey man, how about this day? Yeah, sure. Oh no, I can't do this day. What about that time? Yeah, nah. How about this one? Well, I'm gonna do it on my phone. I'm gonna actually do it at this thing. I'm gonna be at my kid's house. I'm not gonna be at my kid. I was like, yo, bro, you just tell me when you're free.
I was like, I'll get out of this thing and I'll ping you. And he's like, all right, sounds good.
I did get a pig. Look at here, right there. Boop.
Yep.
Well, again, we could still hang out, but this is where I'm going to cut it for YouTube. Anything else you wanted to say before we wrap this up?
No, man, I just appreciate, what you're doing and your streams. When I came back, I was like, oh man, there's somebody streaming, and I was watching them, and I didn't get to watch all the way through, but I just appreciate the work that you put into the community, and it's not unnoticed. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I hope you had an awesome time. I enjoy getting to meet more and more people in our community. I appreciate your perspectives on the game and role playing. I really liked the kind of subtle RP. I have Evan who does that. I've got other characters, not so much. But it takes many kinds to make a great community. So thank you for being here. Thank you for hanging out. I'm going to play a little bit of music as we transition, and then we're going to be hanging out in the Raw when we return.